Welcome to Horseshoe Politics. Today, September 20th, 2020, and this video will be continuing off of yesterday's video, where yesterday I started talking about what are the implications of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg's death, who's going to be filling that Supreme Court seat, and yesterday I just talked about which president will be filling the seat, whether it's Donald Trump that fills it or Joe Biden that fills it, and if Donald Trump tries to fill it early on, before the election, then will enough Republican senators come around and accept the nomination of the justice? But in today's video, it's a bit different of a topic, but it's still similar. It's still part of the same issue of who fills the Supreme Court justice seat. But today, instead of talking about which president will be filling the seat, I'm going to be talking about who specifically will be appointed by whichever president does the nominating, whether it's Joe Biden or Donald Trump. So first, we're going to look at the scenario where Donald Trump appoints the next Supreme Court justice. Either he does it before the uh, election or after the election. As of now, it does not seem likely that a new Supreme Court justice will be chosen before the election. So if Donald Trump's going to be choosing the new Supreme Court justice, it's likely going to be after the 2020 presidential election if he wins the election. And the reason for that is because multiple Republican senators have already came out and said that they're not going to vote on a Supreme Court justice acceptance before the election. Like Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, both of them have already flat out said that, oh, I'm not going to vote until after the election on a new justice. So I'm thinking that some other Republican senators might come around to that position because in 2016 they took that position and they don't want to look like hypocrites. They want to have some sort of they want to have some integrity. They don't want people to think that they're liars, that they're hypocrites. So some of the Republican senators might keep that position on the issue. So that would mean that Donald Trump wouldn't get to choose the next justice until after the election if he wins the election. So there's a lot of reports coming out about Donald Trump saying that he's going to choose a woman as the next justice. So I think Donald Trump himself said that the next justice that he appoints will be a woman. Biden, on the other hand, I'm pretty sure this was back in March in the last debate of the Democratic primaries, where it was just a 1v1 debate with Bernie against Biden. I think in that debate, Biden actually said that he's going to go a step further. He's going to nominate specifically a black woman to the Supreme Court. So he's going a step further than Trump, because Trump is just saying, oh, I'm going to nominate a woman to the Supreme Court. But Biden is going a step further, saying he's going to specifically nominate a black woman to the Supreme Court. Back when I first heard this, I was thinking that might be Kamala Harris, because Kamala Harris was previously Attorney General of California before she became Senator of California. Now she's the vice presidential nominee, so that obviously that's not what Kamala Harris would be if she got voted in as vice president. Biden's not going to nominate her as a Supreme Court justice when she's already vice president. That wouldn't make sense. So Joe Biden might look to some other black woman to fill that Supreme Court vacancy. Trump had already released a list of potential Supreme Court justice nominees before Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away. I think it was earlier this month. Trump released a relatively short list of possible nominations that Trump could choose for the next Supreme Court justice. But that list might actually go into use now because of the vacancy in the Supreme Court. So he's likely going to choose someone from that list, and that someone's going to be a woman. He's already pledged to choose a woman to fill the vacancy. So that really narrows down the options by a lot. So there's really not too many possibilities for his choice for the next Supreme Court justice. So for Donald Trump, it's a lot easier to speculate on the candidate that he could choose to fill the vacancy than for Joe Biden. Joe Biden has not released a list yet, and that's what a lot of people are going after Joe Biden for. A lot of people are saying Joe Biden should release the list of potential Supreme Court nominees that he could nominate, because Joe Biden has not released that yet, and if he becomes president, then he'll likely have to nominate another Supreme Court justice immediately. So a lot of people are saying he should release the list, and if he releases the list, that could actually help him a bit in the election, because people will feel more comfortable voting for him if they know who he's going to nominate in the Supreme Court if he wins
Since
the
Joe
election.
Biden actually announced earlier today that he won't be releasing a list of potential Supreme Court picks, justice picks before the election, in this video I'll mostly only be able to go into Trump's possible picks for the next Supreme Court justice, so I will start with that now. The first on the list, and this is all from a CNN article by the way, the first on the list is Amy Coney Barrett. I don't really know much about any of these people because they have been relatively unknown up until now, so I will need to read off the CNN article in order to talk about these different candidates. But let's get into it now. Amy Coney Barrett, it says here she was born in 1972, so she's either 47 years old or 48 years old. And that means that if she was chosen to serve on the Supreme Court, she would be the youngest justice serving on the Supreme Court. The youngest one currently is Neil Gorsuch, born in 1967, so he's 52 or 53 years old. I forgot the exact age. But yeah, Amy Coney, Amy Coney Barrett would be the youngest Supreme Court justice if she got nominated. So she went to Notre Dame University and she now has served there as a professor of law. She was also a former clerk to the late Justice Antonin Scalia, and she was Trump's pick for a seat on the 7th United States Circuit Court of Appeals. So apparently, Mitch McConnell, Senate Majority Leader, he apparently has indicated to Trump that he knows Barrett well, and what that means is that it could be easy for her to get through the Senate, get through Trump, and get to the Supreme Court pretty quickly. So if they're trying to shove in a new Supreme Court justice before the election, which I already said is probably not going to happen, but if they are able to do that, then she would probably be a good choice in that scenario. But there's also disapproval from Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. Apparently, he made it really clear that he would not at all approve of her serving in the Supreme Court. So that might cause a lot of tension in the Senate if she were nominated by Trump. So now let's move on to the next candidate on this list. Okay, now the next person on this list is Barbara Lagoa, and she has previously served on the Florida Supreme Court. She's from Florida, and she's actually a Hispanic American, Cuban American to be specific, from Florida. One reason why Trump might want to choose her as the next Supreme Court justice is the fact that she's from Florida, and in the 2020 presidential election, Florida is a swing state, meaning that it could go for either Biden or for Trump. I would say it has a roughly 50-50 chance for going for either candidate. It's almost right down the middle at this point. Before 2020, I'd say Trump had a better chance of winning Florida, but because of everything that's happened this year, Biden's chances overall of winning this election definitely improved. So Florida at this point can go for either candidate, but if Trump announces ahead of the election that he is going to specifically choose Barbara Lagoa as the next Supreme Court justice if he were to get reelected, then that might cause a lot of Floridians who were previously on the edge, on the fence of the issue, to come out and vote for Trump because of the fact that she's nominating Floridian Judge Barbara Lagoa, who's also Cuban American. A lot of Cubans live in Florida, so nominating her as the next Supreme Court justice might draw out the Hispanic vote in Florida, which could definitely help Trump's re-election chances because most Hispanic groups in the United States tend to vote more Democrats than Republicans, but Cuban Americans, especially Cuban Americans in Florida, they're the one group of Hispanics that tend to vote more for Republican, more for conservative candidates than for liberal Democratic candidates. So if Trump chooses her, a Cuban American, as the next Supreme Court justice, and he announced that ahead of the election, that could really draw out many people to vote for Trump in the 2020 presidential election. So if she were appointed to the Supreme Court, she'd be the second ever justice of Latino descent, and the first was Sonia Sotomayor, who was nominated by Obama in 2009. So she's from Florida. Florida's a swing state. That could definitely help in Trump's favor. If Trump chooses her, that's definitely something that he should consider in this election, but at the same time, there's also other options that might be better for him, so we're going to look at the rest of the options now. Now, the third and final person that's listed out on the CNN list for a potential Supreme Court justice pick by President Trump is Allison Jones Rushing. And she has served on the 4th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals since March of 2019, so around a year and a half. She was first confirmed by the Senate in March of 2019. She's actually pretty young. She was born in 1982, so she's only, as of now, 37 or 38. So she would be by far the youngest Supreme Court justice. She would be the youngest by around 15 years, because currently the youngest is Neil Gorsuch, who was born in 1967. So she would be the youngest by over a decade. So having only a 38-year-old, or 37-year-old even, but by the time she gets approved, it would probably be 38 years old. Having someone that young serve on the Supreme Court is really rare. Usually the Supreme Court picks are at least 45 years old or 50 years old, but Ruth Bader Ginsburg was 60 years old actually when she was appointed to the Supreme Court, but having a 38-year-old, someone only 38 years old, would be interesting. Having someone that young serve at that high of a level of the judicial branch would be really interesting to see. But that would also mean that she would serve on the Supreme Court for several decades. So if she's 38 now, if she serves till she's like 80, that's 40 years. I would think she would retire before then. 40 years is a really long time to serve. But like, even if she retires at age 60, 60 is a relatively young age to retire from the Supreme Court at. But she'll already have served for over 20 years by then because of how young she is. But let me read through the rest of what CNN has to say about her. So yeah, it's talking about how she would be able to serve through many different presidential administrations because of how young she is. Democrats have apparently criticized her because of her short career, which makes sense. She's only served in the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals since last year, which is a relatively short track record. So that might, the CNN article saying that might draw a lot of scrutiny for her. And also another reason why she might be a really controversial pick is because of her ties to the Alliance Defending Freedom. And she held an internship here, and she spoke to law students at these ADF sponsored events. And basically the whole point is that she's not going to be a fair and independent judge, a lot of people are saying, because of all these of her past track record. So that's one reason why a lot of people are concerned of choosing her as the Supreme Court nominee. So I really don't think it's going to be her, most likely, that Trump chooses. I don't think that would be a good option. Already the whole Trump choosing the Supreme Court nominee issue is a really touchy topic, a really heated topic, so choosing someone as controversial as her, I don't think would be a good idea. I would say, as of now, Trump's best choice is Barbara Lagoa, but Amy Coney Barrett might also work. The first two on the list would work a lot better than the last one on the list. The first one, her advantage is the fact that because of her ties to Mitch McConnell, she could get through the Senate confirmation faster. But for Barbara Lagoa, her advantage just from the fact that she's Hispanic, she's a Hispanic woman from the state of Florida, which is a swing state. I'm not going to bother looking into Biden's potential choices because that's all just complete speculation because there's no list that Joe Biden has listed. But I think what you guys should understand is no matter what happens, the next Supreme Court justice is most likely going to be a woman. Biden already said back in March that he's going to choose a black woman as the next justice, while Trump said just recently he's going to choose a woman for the next justice. So either way, whoever wins the 2020 presidential election, they're going to choose a woman to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And that means that the next Supreme Court justice is almost certainly going to be the fifth woman to ever serve on the Supreme Court. But even then, there's still lots of different options for the next justice. There's the options that Trump might want to choose that are probably more conservative, but then there's also the options that Biden might want to choose that are more liberal. No matter who gets nominated to serve on the Supreme Court, and whether the nomination's by Donald Trump or by Joe Biden, she, in all likelihood, is going to be a she is going to have to get through the Senate in order to actually be able to serve in the Supreme Court. Whoever gets nominated by the president has to get at least 50 of the 100 senators. Actually, I guess the number is 51, but if you get a 50-50 tie, that's where the vice president, who is currently Mike Pence, but it could be Kamala Harris if Joe Biden wins the election. If it's a 50-50 tie, the vice president would cast the deciding vote. So, in reality, you really need 51 votes in the Senate to guarantee that a candidate gets through and is able to serve on the Supreme Court. Because 51 votes is actually a majority, but 50 votes is just a flat-out tie if every senator votes. And in a 50-50 tie, the general rule is that the vice president is the tiebreaker. And this is not just for Supreme Court justice, this is for any sort of tie, for any sort of bill in the Senate. The vice president is the one who breaks the tie. So whoever gets nominated has to get 51 votes in the Senate in order to serve on the Supreme Court, which means that neither Donald Trump nor Joe Biden can nominate a candidate that's too extreme, because if they do so, they're not going to be able to get enough votes in order to be able to serve on the Supreme Court. The other thing that's going to matter a lot and should be taken into serious consideration is the makeup of the Senate after the 2020 election, because in all likelihood, the Senate confirmation hearings for the Supreme Court Justice nominee won't happen until after the 2020 election. This means that the Senate elections that are taking place this fall could have a huge impact on who serves as the next Supreme Court Justice. Not only do the presidential elections matter a lot for this, but the Senate elections also matter for this. Joe Biden will have a much easier time getting through a new justice with a Democrat-controlled Senate, Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you tune in for tomorrow's video. I'll see you then.